Welcome everyone to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rantz alongside TK Tommy Krysan. It's the Monday morning edition, recapping LSU baseball, three-game series win over Dartmouth a couple of times, Northeastern a couple of times. They actually play Game 4 of, I guess, that series, if you want to call it that, tonight, 6:30 on the SEC Network. I'll be on the call with Lynn Rollins. Um, didn't feel like a win, a sweep, although they did sweep. It was not the best weekend for LSU. We'll get into that. LSU men's basketball dead last in the SEC, 3-13, tied with South Carolina for the worst record in the league. 2 games left to go before that season is mercifully finished for LSU men's basketball. The women have the week off. They don't play until Friday. They're one of the top 4 teams in the SEC. They get the double bye at the SEC tournament, which is happening this week. So a Kim Mulkey squad will sit and wait, see who they play on Friday, and pretty much everything has them pegged as a 2 seed or going into the NCAA tournament in a couple of weeks. Maybe if they can make it to the championship game or maybe win the championship game, could that change things? I mean, I guess if you go win the tournament, potentially that could change things for LSU women's basketball, depending on what else happens around the country. Also, if they lose on Friday, and depending on what else happens around the country, maybe they fall to third or fourth potentially as a top seed. So we'll see what goes on with them. But TK's going to give us an update on the Pelicans bet. We got World Baseball Classic starting on Wednesday, Team USA, and a whole lot more. But first, Tommy, you're over over in Port Allen today. Um, Tell us a little bit about your takeaway from LSU baseball over the weekend. They won 3 games, but really it didn't feel like they won.
Well, if you're going to pick a weekend not to hit the ball real well, like you had been hitting it, it might be a good time to pick it against Dartmouth and Northeastern. Got Sacramento State, who's a little bit of a better team coming in this weekend, and then they're in Vanderbilt for SEC play. So figure it out. The baseball gods would say tonight they should score double digits in runs, right? I mean, because Northeast got to be out of pitching, Northeastern, and then maybe LSU can finally get it all together at the plate. It's baseball. It's going to happen. But I'm like you. It was 3 wins, but you were never like in the rocking chair, because they kept the other team, did what they had to do. And Eddie Albert, the guy that threw for Dartmouth yesterday, he's 0-2 now this year, but he's going to win a lot of games this year for that team. He was quite the competitor, quite the pitcher. Nothing fancy. He wasn't throwing 100 miles an hour, but he was pounding that strike zone.
Let me ask you, Tommy. LSU baseball, 5 hits on Friday against Dartmouth, 5 hits on Saturday against Northeastern, a team who's came in of their first 5 games or so. Their team ERA was a 15. LSU got 5 hits. On Sunday, LSU got 4 hits against Dartmouth, but one of those hits was a drop fly ball due to the sun. So they really only got 3 hits in that game. And so, I mean, we're talking about 14 hits in 3 games against Dartmouth twice and Northeastern. Like, that's shocking, man. And oh, by the way, throw in 8 hits against McNeese on Tuesday against no pitchers really outside of maybe one of their 6 or 7 guys they threw. That's a weekend guy. They had maybe 2 weekend guys out of that 6 or 7 they threw. Look, one game you go, it's baseball. This is 4 games in a row that the offense has been extremely underwhelming. And it's crazy because they hit 388 last week in a 3-game series in Jacksonville against the likes of Notre Dame, Indiana, and Central Florida, all name brand teams, and that you would think, okay, those are pretty good teams traditionally. So I don't know what's happened, but also I'm not going to say, oh, don't worry about it. Like, no, no, no. There's reason for concern when you get 22 hits in 4 games against this kind of competition. That was a long meeting held yesterday by Jay Johnson.
Don't forget to like and share this show, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X. And don't forget to look for shorts on YouTube. Sports Shorts by Ronnie Rantz and Tommy Krysan. Later today, we'll have some clips from today's show, little snippets. Doesn't take as much time. But don't forget to like and share this show. Go ahead, Ronnie. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Ronnie. And tonight, you would think you're going to see double-digit hits, double-digit runs, if this LSU team's really, can get it all together and figure it out. Because when they go to Lafayette Wednesday night, they're going to get the best shot from the Cajuns, who took 2 out of 3 this past weekend. So they're going to be feeling good and ready. Going to be a packed house in Lafayette. So, find a way to hit the ball tonight and hit it where they ain't.
Yeah, I'm. The only thing that Jay Johnson is trying not to hit the panic button too soon on this thing, but at the same time, he's like, hey, I don't. They just got to get back in the cage and work on it. I think it's to me, the letdown was Tuesday. You come off of having this great start to your season. You hit you 10-run rule Central Florida on Sunday. You got a road trip. You come back. Maybe your focus isn't quite there. Tuesday, you think, we're going to roll out the ball. We're going to beat this. Roll out the balls. We're going to beat this team. You don't. Those things happen. You play 56 regular season games. LSU rarely goes undefeated in midweek ever. I don't know if they've maybe done it once or something. I don't know. And so those things happen, no big deal. But they've done it now for a week, 4 games, and I don't know that. And so the idea, Tommy, that they weren't focused, that happens for one game. When it's 4 games, it's contagious. And I don't know if there's and obviously the velocity is not what they're going to face in the SEC. And again, soft toss and lefties have always been the kryptonite for LSU baseball. Yesterday, they faced a pitcher that was throwing 90, 91 miles an hour and struck out most of the batters with the fastball. And so that is concerning. It wasn't, break change ups and off speed and curveballs from left handed pitchers. And oh my God, I can't stay back on a 79-mile-an-hour breaker from a lefty. This was 90-mile-an-hour, 91-mile-an-hour fastballs that he was throwing by hitters and freezing hitters. And so there's a real concern. And even if they go out today, Tommy, and they get 12 hits against Northeastern and score 10 runs, there's still got to be some question marks. And so this is a very important game today, game Wednesday at UL, game this weekend against Sacramento State, is traditionally a good program. Um, they've got six. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, and then next week they've got 6 games before they play Vanderbilt. If you're an LSU fan, you'd like to see them really turn it on for these last 6.
Yeah, you really got to do that. And, it's baseball. We know that. But you make a good point. When it happens for 4 games against inferior pitching, because, McNeese just threw Johnny Holstaff and, treated it as that type of thing. So I think I don't know if you hit the panic button, you might want to know where it is. But we'll see what happens tonight. And we'll see what happens in Lafayette on Wednesday night. Because, again, as we've said, Sacramento State comes in this weekend and they're traditionally a good team, and they haven't been snowed in. They've been playing baseball, so we'll see.
Let's also give shout out praise to the starting pitchers for LSU. All three, quality starts. And look, I understand when you're facing lesser opponents, you should do what you do. You shouldn't allow runs and hits and things like that when LSU faces Dartmouth and Northeastern. But it's the fact that they threw strikes. The strikeout to walk ratio as a staff over the weekend for the 3 games, it was something like 8-1, 9-1, something like that. So that's what you're looking for. If you had given up a bunch of hits and runs, you'd be concerned, but they didn't. They all had 3 good quality starts. William Schmidt back-to-back shutout starts for him against Central Florida at a neutral site, and then this week at home against Dartmouth. That's good. That's boding well for the sophomore from Catholic High, who's expected to have a big year and be a big part of their rotation. That's good to see. You'd like him to he'll get one more start next Sunday against Sacramento State. And hopefully he can have another good one. You got 3 quality starts going into Vanderbilt on the road where he'll need it. So there was some positive. The pitching was extremely dominant, and oh, by the way, threw a lot of strikes with their dominant pitching. All right, TK, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in this week in baseball. Staying on that theme, the World Baseball Classic, which happens every 3 years, I believe, or
3 years,
4, 3. I
three.
think it's 3. Um, I'm excited, and if you're an LSU fan, you should be. Paul Skeens and Alex Bregman are both going to participate on Team USA.
Yeah, Team USA's got a loaded roster. It's basically an all-star team. from the Major League Baseball with a lot of moving parts to it. And they'll play Friday night, which we'll talk about later this week. Japan's the defending champ. They won it in 2023, and they'll open up play Wednesday night over in Japan. World Baseball Classic. It's going to get some attention. A lot of guys have left spring training to go participate in that. Aaron Nola is pitching for Italy. I mean, you got Otani throwing for Japan. I mean, there's some U.S. stars, U.S. guys playing for other countries. Should be fun. This is going to be a pretty good brand of baseball.
I think the Team USA across the chest thing takes on a little bit more juice coming off of the Olympics, coming off of hey, the United States in essence with Israel, they're at war with Iran right now. So we're seeing whether it be on social media, whether it be on TV, you're seeing videos and pictures and images of bombs and missiles and all the ships being attacked and all that sort of thing. And so with all of that, everyone gets a little bit, more patriotic. I can remember being an LSU Tiger um, during the Gulf War in '91 when we went into Iraq, and I remember, we added the American flag, on the uniform, and we would have different military people, getting honored at the games, each and every game, and thing like that. So it will definitely take on a little bit more meaning and a little bit more patriotism. The World Baseball Classic this year.
I agree with you completely. The whole USA thing on the heels of women and men winning hockey in the Winter Olympics. I mean, there's a lot of red, white, and blue vibes and juice flying around. So let's hope this team can do pretty well.
And by the way, they have Scooble, one of the best pitchers in baseball, gonna throw at least one game. He'll throw one game for the United States. I don't know what Paul Skeen's limitations are, with any. Have you heard anything, Tommy, on what that might be?
I haven't heard if there's any limitation. Certainly, he's going to throw. And
Yeah,
Scooble has come out and said, "I'm only throwing once." Whatever. And
right.
at least they have a plan for it. But looking forward to seeing Skeens and Bregman and the other guys. And then, of course, Aaron Nola's going to pitch for Italy. Don't know how and when that'll match up. We'll investigate all that and talk about it on Wednesday and Friday for sure.
And Aaron Judge, by the way, will also be playing. So, I mean, a lot of stars for the United States. And look, I remember 3 years ago when Mike Trout and Otani had the showdown, and Otani got the better of him. That was so exciting. It was over in Miami. Miami seems to be the market that it gets the most passionate about the World Baseball Championships, and I think a lot of that has to do with the Latin culture over there. It's the capital of all Latin America, and so you have all these countries that are represented in the World Baseball Classic, and it's a great place for fans to want to. You got a lot of American fans there. If you're Japanese fans, which they won the championship 3 years ago, it's a great city to go visit. So they seem to really get behind it, which is crazy, Tommy, because nobody goes to Marlins games. Like, they struggled with attendance. They've struggled with multiple different owners, and they just can't seem to, for people to really get into the Marlins over there. They even built a new stadium on the site of the old Orange Bowl, and it's a beautiful stadium, but not in the best location, and people just don't support it. But yet, when it comes to the World Baseball Classic, that's the best environment probably in the country. The other one that's really good, of course, is LA. But looking forward to that red, white, and blue. What else we got going on in sports?
Well, the Pelicans got blown out last night. I'm 4 games under 500 on the bet. They're on a West Coast swing. They got some tough games coming up. We'll keep tabs on that. The NFL scouting combine is basically over. Saints scheduled to pick eighth as of today. A lot of mock drafts are starting to fly around. We'll see what happens with all of that. And I've been watching a good bit of spring training baseball. Watched you and Lynn yesterday. Going to watch you and Lynn on the call of LSU tonight. So a lot of baseball in the air. And March is a pretty good sports month because you got spring training and the regular season of MLB will start in about 3 weeks. You got the March Madness and women's basketball and men's basketball. Masters is next month. So a lot of sports stuff flying around the World Baseball Classic, etc.
Did you see? The combine was happening in Indianapolis, and Sean Payton did an interview where they talked about a number of things, but they talked about the draft in New Orleans in 17 with Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, where the Saints were picking 11th. They got Lattimore in that draft, but they wanted they were there was always conversation and discussion about the Saints would potentially take uh, 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 Mahomes if he was there, which would have been a surprise because I mean, Drew Brees, of course, was in his prime and really about to hit one of the best stretches of his career right there in 2017, and they were picking 11th. There was a team in front. Kansas City Chiefs traded up and of course took Patrick Mahomes. They had Mahomes and Lattimore sort of, in the pocket, ready to go. When they saw that the Chiefs made the trade before even the pick was in, Sean Payton said he turned to Loomis and said they're going to take Mahomes. He just had a lot of respect for Andy Reid and knew the job that they did as an organization, and he knew that he had an eye for seeing the same thing that he saw in Mahomes. Um, and that was that class right there, that 2017 class, which included Kamara and others, is one of those classes that really turned the Saints franchise around for a few years. And but what might have been, it would have been very interesting to see what might have been had the New Orleans Saints taken Mahomes with that pick. They clearly would have had him sit the bench for a number of years. Much like what Aaron Rodgers did behind Brett Favre in Green Bay. The question becomes, at what point would the Saints have either moved on from Drew Brees had they had Mahomes in their camp? How would it have played out? It would have been very intriguing to see how it would have played out, because knowing Drew Brees the way we do, he would not have backed away from that challenge. It wasn't like he would have pouted and taken his ball and gone home. He would have, like he did anyway, raised his game. He would have probably even potentially raised his game even more and said, "No, this is my team." So would the Saints have traded Patrick Mahomes at some point, or would Drew Brees have retired or been traded earlier? I don't know. Very curious to see what they would have done.
Well, Ronnie, we can go back through history. There's a very thin line on different paths in the NFL, whether it's Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf. And hey, when Nick Saban went to the Dolphins, it came down to Drew Brees and Dante Culpepper, who they would sign for the Dolphins. They took Culpepper. Brees goes to the Saints, yields a Super Bowl a few years after that. So, and I mean, we could make hundreds of other similar cases as that thin line between, of what might have been or what could have been, and of course, we'll never know, but it's fun to talk about. It helps Sports Shorts Daily.
By the way, also not only did Drew Brees win a Super Bowl, he won a Super Bowl in that stadium where the Miami Dolphins play, which is the ultimate irony. And then also at the combine, Garrett Nussmeier addressed the media, and we found out where Garrett Nussmeier said, "Yeah, I got hurt second day of practice in August before the season last year for LSU, and was never the same." Um,
Kind of revealing right there. Now it makes sense, when you look, and he couldn't step into the throw. Said it hurt him every time to throw the ball, but being a competitor, he wanted to be out there, wanted to help his team win, and he clearly wasn't 100%. Now we know that because he told everybody. I mean, we all
yeah,
speculated during the season something ain't right. The mechanics aren't there. Some of his accuracy was not there. Some of the misses were really missed. Okay, weren't like just off the fingertip. So yeah. So now we know the rest of that story. Oh well.
yeah, yeah. No, it just amazes me how I just don't understand per se the reason why the secrecy of injuries and stuff like that. I get it to a certain degree. If you've got a guy somewhat nicked up, and a running back, for example, and he's got a messed up ankle, and maybe the other team doesn't know it, and he's going to play this week, and you don't want to talk about to the degree, to the extent that the ankle's messed up because you don't want them targeting it or something. But in Garrett Nussmeier's case, why not be more transparent about the severity of his injury? Because quite frankly, there were so many people that were upset with Garrett Nussmeier with the way he played. There were so many people that were upset with him that, and even though we know now that he was injured, I still don't understand why he wasn't dressed out in uniform as an emergency backup for this team. I just don't understand why. Even when they made the decision to go with Van Buren and say, okay, you're too hurt to be to really help us. he was able to physically take snaps and hand off the football and be an emergency quarterback. That would have been better than anything else that they could have done. I still don't. I think that's a dumb move, a selfish move. I don't know whose fault it is, whatever. I don't understand that. But the idea that they don't reveal the extent of the injuries, especially when a guy like Garrett Nussmeier was a preseason Heisman Trophy favorite who played awful. It ended up being a part of the reason why a coach got fired. Why not be more transparent about it? I don't get it.
I would agree with you. I know that he's got an NFL prospect. But the NFL is going to investigate
But
any and all
but Tommy,
injuries nowadays anyway.
he stood there at the NFL Combine and he's going to
Yeah,
explain it anyway. I
yeah.
mean, no NFL team's
I'm
not going
just
to
saying
draft
that
him
might
without going, "Why'd you play so bad?"
but that might be why. I mean, obviously there was a disconnect between Nussmeier and Brian Kelly. Somewhere
uh,
along the line, they weren't on the same page and kind of didn't move in the direction to get back on the same page. Is the way it looks to me. So it's one of those
bizarre.
things you got to write it up, and maybe in the future everybody learns from it and things get handled better.
All right, TK, tell us about what's going on at Court Street Cafe as we get out of here.
All right, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 7 days a week. Saturday night is steak night. The Sunday brunch is an awesome deal. You really need to check that out. Connect with Court Street Cafe Port Allen on Facebook and Instagram. You'll know all about the lunch specials, red beans and rice today, dinner specials, dinner of the week specials, anything they got going on here. Drink specials back behind me. Court Street Cafe Port Allen. Jason and the staff do a super job. You need to check them out. Many of you have. Hopefully, you'll check it out going forward, Court Street Cafe. Don't forget to like and share this show, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or X. And look for shorts, YouTube shorts at Sports Shorts by Ronnie Rantz and Talking Sports with TK, Tommy Krysan. Later today and tomorrow, there'll be some clips from the show. We're back Wednesday morning with another episode of Sports Shorts Daily. Have a great day, everyone.